Alrighty, hi everybody. For those watching at home, this is a special meeting of the Bike Walk Commission to keep talking about our strategic plan for the year 2024. We met in December to talk about this, and Manny was our facilitator. We took a bunch of notes. Delene took the official notes, but I also took some organizational notes that I'm going to share. I sent out the link to everybody. Is anybody interested in collaborating in this doc that doesn't have the link? If so, I will send it to you. It's this.
Yes, please.
Okay, Emily, I'll just share it with you directly this way. Okay, check your email.
Thanks.
Is it possible to make it a little bit larger?
Absolutely.
Thank you. Perfect.
So this is from last time. We, just to give a quick summary, we brainstormed a bunch of the accomplishments that we made in 2023. We talked about our strengths, weaknesses, opportunities. I didn't write down any threats. I can't remember if we talked about that or not, but a SWOT analysis. Other notes I took, we talked about how we need to prioritize stuff. We talked about, I think Greg brought us up to speed on TMP's idea for bike ped plan in the future. By the way, Greg, I didn't recognize that Greg is here. Thanks, Greg, for attending. And thanks to Lena, as always, for running the meeting and taking notes. And then we started brainstorming potential goals, and where we left off was we were going to finish that process out. So I've asked Manny to facilitate again, and broadly we're thinking that we'll do 30 minutes to wrap up brainstorming, and then 30 minutes to like stack rank and prioritize, and then 30 minutes to like wordsmith our goals and make them smart, specific, measurable, actionable, realistic, time bound, stuff that we can actually work towards and measure. So with that, I'll turn it over to Manny.
Thanks, Tanner. Yeah, I definitely want to be mindful of everybody's time. So we definitely want to end at 8 p.m. And I'm sure if there's anything that needs to be carried over, we'll figure it out. We'll figure out how to make that work, either our next meeting or if there needs to be another additional meeting. But hopefully we can hash out most of it by tonight. And as Tanner said, we want to divide things into 3 parts. Just continue brainstorming. So last meeting, I know one of Tanner's ideas was to kind of create a brain dump, which is what we're seeing here. And so I just want to review, just kind of read it off again, because I think, it's been 3 weeks. We're 3 weeks removed from last meeting, and even just kind of where our brains were going with the brain dump might be a little hazy. And so just kind of throwing things out there. One thing, you can read it yourself, but I just like vocalizing it because I think that kind of also gets things, gets the brain going. So some of the potential goals, we want to review and evaluate the 2012 bike pedestrian plan and progress on it. We want to focus on education, which includes meet with the NPS rep, and also do more stuff with social media, do more with our website. Focus some of another potential goals, diversity and representation, either on our board or just in general, reaching out to parts of the community that usually don't get represented. And then we also talked about bike share, bike valet, policy stuff, which construction provisions for sidewalks and bike lanes, and bike rep standards and zoning code. And we also talked about upcoming events that we want to see happen, like open streets and bike rodeo, and a plan of conservation and development. I think that has a question mark on it. And then also bike friendly, kind of complete the action items on the bike friendly communities application that is currently in
these
process.
were potential sources of other ideas. The POCD being the citywide plan of conservation development. There's a bunch of stuff that's assigned to the Bike Walk Commission in that, but it's from 2019. So it's now 5 years, happy 2024, 5 years ago. And then this doc was a bunch of ideas that I wrote down as we were filling out this application. And I took the opportunity before this meeting to read through those again. So I have a long list that I want to at least pull some stuff off of as we go through this. But Manny, what do you say? I'm going to take this and copy paste it down here just so we can leave the notes
Okay.
from the last meeting kind of as is.
Sure.
And then
And I think
we
it's
can, like, craft this.
And I think I know Emily, she wasn't here last meeting, and so like if you want to look at picture some buckets, I guess that we, created of sorts, it's education, awareness, diversity representation, policy stuff, and events. I don't know if bike share, bike valet, were they their own categories or were they also kind of within those buckets, I guess you can call them. Yes. I think Christine, you have a question or a thought?
Yeah, exactly. Thanks, Manny. So I don't remember last month, but is there something in here about like, acknowledging our goals met or celebrating our milestones or things like, for example, there was that really nice article in the paper about that Norwalk has the longest path in the state.
Mhm.
On the front page, I think Jim Travers and everything. But is there a place in here for that? Or maybe this isn't the place for that?
Christine, are you talking about that, like, as a commission, we would try and look back and summarize all of our accomplishments?
So I guess you're right. It's two things. So we used to meet with the mayor, Nancy, we'd meet with the mayor and say, check, we did this one, we did this one, we did this one. And then we would present it. But the other thing is like to have, and then the other thing we used to do and would be write an article in the paper, not an article, but like celebrate, like,
Op-ed?
yeah,
Okay,
those two things.
Yeah, I think that could be kind of in the outreach awareness side, because that would bring awareness to who we are and what we're doing, in the community. Any other ideas or thoughts that haven't made?
let me make sure I capture both of those. So the second one, Christine, was I've described as a year-end review op-ed, something we published to the public. But then the first thing you were saying, it sounds like that was like a review of the strategic plan and our progress on our own strategic plan that we would do with the mayor.
Exactly.
Yeah, I think that we should capture that as well, but it's different. I mean, that should probably go first. So I actually, you know what? I'm remembering now the last time we talked about checking in quarterly during our bike walk commission meetings on the strategic plan. But what you're talking about is more of a once a year thing?
Exactly. That's how we did it. Quarterly in-house and then once a year with the mayor.
Okay, so maybe I could write something like stay. I can't, but aligned. So that means check in once per quarter. So I think we can revisit these when we're in the last stage where we're making a goal smart. But I think we should do both of these. I like those. So Manny, back to you.
Cool. I just wanted to ask if there's any other ideas in the brain dump. So since we're still doing the brain dump right now, is anything else? And honestly, I just also want to encourage silence is okay because silence means people are thinking. And so take your time. We have 30 minutes to allocate it for any additional things that we want to see on the potential goals brain dump. And so if there's anything else, I just kind of want to create that space for that.
So I've got a bunch of stuff from here that I want to go through. Who spoke up though? Go ahead.
I was just going to add, so under the education outreach and awareness and kind of touching on what Christine was just talking about with, sharing achievements and stuff. I know we have an email newsletter system, having that maybe more consistent, whether it's like quarterly. I think that's what we were aiming to do, but just having that as a source of information more consistently, I think, is in our benefit.
Yep, great. Okay, let me go through some of the highlights that I found when I was working on the Bike Friendly Communities application. I'm actually going to switch and share that tab because I have them all written out. There's lots of details here. Not all of these are going to go into the strategic plan, but they are broken down into the categories from the application. Most of them are from the engineering, but there's also education, encouragement, and evaluation. So this year we have Complete Streets that's very much happening. That's already underway. TMP and I think I can't remember which consultant it is are working on this, but sometime during 2024 we're going to see a draft of the Complete Streets Design Guide, which is basically going to define how we build our streets in Norwalk going forward. And there's going to be an ordinance that the Common Council will ideally approve that will give it teeth. So there's a bunch of specific like design guidelines, design elements that would be good to get in there. For example, protected intersections for bikes, bike parking design standards. We don't need to enshrine any of these specifically into our strategic plan, but I think that there should be something in the strategic plan about ensuring that Complete Streets gets done, that it's high quality, that the design guide is high quality, that the ordinance gets approved at a high level.
That'd be kind of at the policy level, right?
Yeah, that's very much a policy thing.
So like accountability and oversight of, how would you put
Yeah.
that?
I mean, I think there's really two concrete goals. One is ensure that the design guide is high quality. And then ensure that the ordinance gets passed. Because conceivably they could pass an ordinance with a design guide that is subpar, that doesn't have all the elements that we want to see there. And also conceivably we could have the other way where they do a lot of work on a design guide, but then the Common Council doesn't vote to like enforce it or give it any sort of teeth. So they both need to happen. So that's the first big section. Any questions or comments on that? I'm going to skip some of these because there's tons. We've talked, I think anti-idling has come up before. It's not like explicitly a bike walk thing, but I think there's enough overlap that we probably could work on it. There's a state level law that says idling for more than a certain amount of time is against the law, but there's no enforcement whatsoever. We could try and work on getting local enforcement. We could try and work on getting a local ordinance. Any thoughts, Christine?
Well, I think that's great. I don't remember seeing that, but and I'll tell you why, because I work in a school and there's buses that park early to get at the school. And at first there was idling, and I called the school bus company to make a complaint. Well, they shut that down in like less than a day. They took it very seriously, and it's never happened again. Every single bus out of like 15 buses, complete engine cut. So I think they do take this seriously.
Nice.
In the
Okay.
city.
I've added it to the brainstorming.
I have a question. I mean,
Yeah,
I know this is gonna sound kind of, I'm just gonna say it. Does Bike Walk Commission, I know we kind of have an underlying environmental bent, right? Because we're the Bike Walk Commission, but does that include environmental issues like idling?
I think that the way that I would explain this or rationalize this is that if we have a lot of people that are idling that don't need to be idling, that it degrades the pedestrian experience and the cyclist experience.
Okay.
You know,
Cool.
there's noise pollution, there's air pollution.
What was this written up? I don't remember this being in here. Was it written up meaning like people park in the bike lane? And to like idling in the bike lane?
Oh yeah, that's a
What
good
do you-
point.
So there's a state law that says it's illegal to idle
Right.
for more than a certain amount of time.
Right.
It doesn't have to do with bike lanes or anything.
No, I was wondering if in this sense here, like, is that what we're saying? That there's, no, it would be, if that was the case, it'd say parked in the bike lane. Like, never mind.
Are you confused about this document? I just wrote this. This is just a list that
No,
I made like
I'm not
half an hour ago.
confused. No, I'm not confused at all. I just didn't remember saying idling before, and I was wondering, is it in reference to people idling in the bike lane? Not the
Oh.
law. I'm very clear on the law. I just, yeah.
No, it's in reference to idling generally, but I think that
Okay.
idling generally still does have enough to do with
Yeah.
with
And,
walking.
okay, I like what Manny said, though. I appreciate that comment. And I also appreciate all this work you're doing, Manny.
No problem. No, thanks for clarifying that, Tanner. And also thanks, Christine, for your question, or kind of also asking for that clarification. We do have 10 more minutes on the brainstorming brain dump part. So I just want to, Tanner, if there's anything else you want to
Yeah.
add from here, but just
Let
want to
me-
make everyone aware of the 10-minute mark.
Let me do a quick summary of this whole list, just call out some stuff, and then people tell me what they think is most important for Bike Walk to be involved in 2024. So anti-idling, parking benefit cash out ordinance. This is where you can require that employers that provide a parking benefit also provide a similar benefit for people who don't drive. This is a zoning thing. We could have bike parking count towards requirements for car parking. That ship is probably sailed because the zoning rewrite's already done. Construction site law, we talked about that last week. We could require that there's a sidewalk detour if the sidewalk gets blocked by construction. We could have a law that says that bike lanes are explicitly for not only bikes, but also other kinds of micromobility like e-scooters. A few different things we could do with bike racks. We've been talking to TMP about this before. We could have a program where TMP upon request installs a bike rack. We could have some sort of subsidy program where people who want to install a bike rack can get money from the city to do it. We could work specifically on getting bike racks at grocery stores. Bike lockers would be really cool, and I think East Norwalk Railroad Station is maybe the best place to start with that. Raised crosswalks. This is something that I don't know that we have a ton of power, but we can complain, right? The Harbor Loop Trail at Cross Street, a bunch of crossings for the NRVT. We've brought up road diets before. East Ave and West Ave both get brought up a lot. Route 1 next to, actually at this intersection along Cross Street. I've heard that brought up as well. Speed cameras, the state legislature introduced a pilot program whereby municipalities can make a plan to adopt automated speed enforcement. It's still in the very early stages. I don't know all the details. I don't know exactly what hoops Norwalk would have to jump through. I don't know how much appetite there is to do it, but I think that we should at least figure out what the hoops are and what the appetite is, and potentially work on that, or encourage the relevant parties like the police department. I think it would be police department and TMP mostly that would work on it. Bike cut throughs, this showed up on the application. This is like connections between streets that could have a connection but don't, cul-de-sacs that butt up against each other. Just having a line item in the city budget for bike network maintenance. I think right now there's a lot of budget for road maintenance, and that includes the bike lanes implicitly, but there's no explicit line item for bike network maintenance itself. Wayfinding, that's a whole big category on its own. There's a lot of bike network wayfinding that could be done that isn't done. We have the stickers on the ground for the NRVT, and that's about it. I guess we have the bike route signs on the new bike route. Bike show we talked about last time. That's the engineering section. We've got, actually, I'll pause there. What stands out to people from this whole section?
I
Christine.
think I recall you mentioning that there would be bike lockers at the South Norwalk Railroad. Am I misremembering that? Or that there were talks about it?
But we have high quality indoor bike parking at South Norwalk. I don't remember ever talking about lockers. I don't think I've brought up lockers before. It was on the application though, which got me thinking about it. And because South Norwalk does have high quality, like secure parking already, and East Norwalk just has like one outdoor bike rack, or I guess two. I thought maybe lockers would, East Norwalk might be a good place to pilot the lockers. That's just an idea.
I was gonna comment, so this is like amazing, okay? I was gonna comment, and again, maybe I missed something at the top of this document. It's a working document. I understand that it's a brain drain. I understand that. Are we and I see wish list, thank you for scrolling. I guess then do we cut this down? We're gonna pick like 3 or 5 goals, like to decide on? Because this is very comprehensive.
Yeah, it's super comprehensive. We're not going to work on all of these this year.
Okay.
To be very clear, this is a list of ideas that I got while I was filling out the bike friendly
Yeah,
community.
yeah,
application.
I remember, and you mentioned that, yeah. And how can we kind of define this? Like, would it be short-term goals, long-term goals, like 2027,
Well,
some of these, something like that?
Right now, what we're trying to do is figure out which one of these do we want to work on in 2024.
So, okay, so are we cutting, so basically, we're in the engineering part here as the subtitle, the heading? Which
Yeah,
one,
I mean,
which,
that's like half of it.
how many do we pick? Are we picking now?
Why don't you pick 2, Christine? Tell me
Yeah.
2 things that you think are the coolest out of here, or that are most deserving of our time and attention.
Well, should we put it in the chat, each of us?
Sure.
Sure.
Oh, we don't have a chat. We have a Q&A.
Because I have to read through and then decide. Let's see. I'm sorry, I don't know what context or where. Maybe you already defined it and I wasn't paying
Oh,
attention.
so these are just specific policy ideas I have for complete streets. But
Uh-huh.
a minute ago, I talked about complete streets and mentioned that
Yeah, okay.
at a high level, we should make sure that we're focused on that and that we get what we want out of it.
Okay.
I would love
You
to
know-
see.
Oh, go ahead.
Oh,
Emily.
just quickly, yeah, adding on to this, what speaks like out most to me, especially with the idea of having complete streets, is just more visibility of the Norwalk River Valley Trail, because in Norwalk it is both, an off street path, but also it appears to be like on street. So having the raised crosswalks is great, but also just like more signage and more clarity around where the NRVT is and maps and like parking spots, so that people from out of town, outside of Norwalk, can come and visit and understand exactly how far it goes, especially now that there's an even better connection. I think it runs like 5 miles now. It would be really nice to just bring more awareness around that.
Okay, I'm gonna write that down. I think we can put that under outreach, because I think part of what you're talking about involves outreach. But part of it also involves like physical wayfinding, like signage, right?
Mhm.
Signage, and I like the idea of raised crosswalks, but yeah, just like a clear path definition, especially on the streets of where the NRVT is.
Christine, your hands up.
Thank you. I agree too. I like that. What, I guess because Greg is here, should we put something of like continue the relationship with engineering? I mean, is that guaranteed that Greg is not, here? Like, that we have a representative from engineering? Is that something that's
Well, Greg represents TMP, strictly speaking. Engineering is
TMP?
part of Public Works.
Oh, okay. Well,
But Greg, you unmuted, go ahead.
No, I just, I mean, I'm here for staff liaison, but a lot of the stuff that you guys are naming goes through TMP.
Yeah.
Whether it's striping, raised crosswalks, a lot of that stuff does go through TMP just as much as, there are projects that go through DPW as well, but also, we also do a lot of the, larger corridor, grant funded projects that, kind of incorporate a lot of these, that will incorporate a lot of these changes as well.
Yeah, I want to recognize that a lot of the things on this list are things that are ultimately going to be projects that a department like TMP would take on. They're not projects that the Bike Walk Commission can do on our own. They're just things that we could potentially ask for and push for. Some of them we could be more involved in. I'm thinking especially the policy stuff, where we could like do the policy research and then bring it to the ordinance committee on the Common Council and get TMP's feedback on them. But like the more infrastructure oriented stuff, like raised crosswalks, like that's just something that we would have to say, you know, this is important, can you please do it? And then, you know, TMP and other departments would make it happen, and first they'd have to get the money for it, right?
Is that a procedure, like with Greg, he's the liaison, or like if we can hammer it down, maybe a procedure, so we can it's a quick go-to? Like, so it's smooth, or is it, do you feel
You mean
it's
for
happening?
like a
Canada?
specific infrastructure improvement?
Yeah, like just kind of like, okay, there's a form that we would fill out, the Bike Walk Commission fills out and sends to them, or we give it to Greg in a form and he sends it, like something that we can document or that's formal.
I think
It's
Go
something
ahead,
like
Greg.
that, Tanner, just to interject, so something like that, like, you know, anything specific, you know, we still would suggest to go through like the customer service, you know, click and request. I understand, you know, as the Bike Walk Commission, you know, you could certainly bring it up during a meeting, you know, ahead of time if you say, hey, I want to discuss this. But as far as keeping track of those items, we direct all public, you know, anything that they notice or concerns through the customer service click and request, because then it goes directly into the customer service system and we see it, and then it keeps track of that ticket as well.
So I think that sounds good, but can we have like, can it be the Bike Walk email for click and request? Or this phone number, so that it's documented on our part that we have.
I think we're getting a little bit too into the weeds.
Okay,
We're
okay,
trying to talk about
sorry,
like
sorry.
yearly goals, right?
Yeah.
I think it would make sense to put an infrastructure project like this into our yearly goals if there was a ball that was already rolling. For example, Complete Streets is a ball that's already rolling. Or a more concrete one would be like Seaview Avenue. Seaview Avenue is a ball that's already rolling. TMP's already allocated employee time, and I think the work that's been done so far has been all in-house on Seaview. Is that right, Greg?
On CV, yeah, it's all in-house. Well, the design, we have a consultant working on conceptual design right now, but we
Okay.
have no funding for construction or even for you know, or we haven't even looked to advance the final design moving forward quite yet. So you know, still a ways away.
Yeah. So, but my point is that you've allocated not only employee time but also money for consultant time. So
Correct.
like it's a project that's already going. And so if we said that like it's really important that we make sure that Seaview Avenue gets done right, then we can make that a priority. But it's given that TMP is already working on it.
Yeah.
Also, I think that there's other places that the commission can focus, especially in terms of like our yearly goals.
Correct, yeah, and you know, on top of it, we also get, you know, through the click and request, we get other recommendations as well from citizens as well that want, you know, traffic calming measures, or they want, you know, other things, you know, that, you know, we don't necessarily have a budget for now, but we will planned out for the future, you know, so we keep track of all those improvements. Like, you know, we saw the race crosswalk go in Union Park, which I don't know if anyone's seen yet, but it looks
I saw it today.
it looks great. You know, that took a few, you know, a couple of years to you know, to get the funding and, you know, get a contractor on board and to do that. So some of these things take more than a year to do.
So maybe Greg, the next question might be best posed to you, and that is, of all the things that are on here, where do you see the Bike Walk Commission having the most impact or playing the biggest role? Where should we start? Because a lot of these are things that, like we've been saying, are really TMP projects.
Right. Yeah. I mean, we identify, you know, we have, you know, we look for areas to put race crosswalks in, you know, road diets, the same thing like East Avenue, you know, anytime, you know, we already talked about East Avenue a lot, Route 1, we're doing a corridor study, you know, that, you know, a lot of these things have kind of already begun, you know, to a sense where we can actually begin studying and doing, you know, planning and conceptual design for. So it's really not anything that needs, you know, the Bike Walk Commission to tell us so that we can do it. You know, so I think mainly it's, you know, a lot of it is piggybacking off of the work that we're doing and, you know, getting the message out there for, you know, for safety and educational aspect of it more than the engineering aspect of it.
Well, that's going to come in just a sec. But
No, I get it. I get it. But like
I've
Complete
identified
Streets,
here.
like we're overseeing, you know, we're doing that right now. through the complete street process, construction site law, that's gonna be tied into the complete streets as well. An aspect of that, bike, obviously the connectivity standards, that all falls in to city standards and through complete streets and the NUTCD. Enforcement, that a lot of that is on police, to handle enforcement. So let's see here. So city line
Oh, go
budget
ahead.
for bike network maintenance. So we have a striping in our striping budget in our capital budget every year. So that goes for bike network maintenance, for restriping and new striping of roadways as well.
Yeah, I'm talking more, I think, about like snow plowing and that kind of stuff. But I think that as I've been digesting this and as we've been having this conversation, I think these are maybe the three things where the Bike Walk Commission can be instrumental in either like doing the legwork like we're doing for bike share, or starting the conversation like I think we could do for speed cameras. So I think I already added wayfinding. I'm gonna add speed cameras, then we'll move on. Any other comments on that section?
I just wanted to clarify with Emily a little bit so she can expand a little bit. It sounded like from what you said, Emily, that what you wanted for the Bike Walk Commission as a potential goal is to develop, kind of emphasize the NRVT more, especially as it's a resource in the community that, is maybe people don't know a lot about, and it's a great resource because it's a trail, you know what I mean? I don't know, I just wanted to get a little more clear. Like, I want you to expand a little more on that for one of the potential goals.
Yeah, definitely. Well, and thank you for bringing it up. I mean, I would love to have more collaboration between the Bike Walk Commission and the NRVT, just because they have been building more sections and getting more connected in Norwalk. And I know people from out of town who want to come and visit Norwalk, it's a great opportunity for them to do that without having to drive, or to be able to park at certain parts of the NRVT and take that down all the way to Calf Pasture Beach. So I think, yeah, having for me too, I think more signage. Like I live right near the Maritime Aquarium, so I see where there are pieces of it that it's just not very clear that it's there, but I see people walking on it every day and they don't even know that it's a trail. So I think, yeah, having just more emphasis around the NRVT and what a benefit it is to have it in Norwalk. And now we have this whole new section, like we threw that, what was it? The celebration of trail progress event that went really well. And we got, a lot of new people using the trail from that. So having maybe more events like that, or just opportunities for more walkability events or open street events that include the NRVT. Like that's something we did earlier, either this year or last year, was that Calf Pasture Beach open street event that was on the NRVT. That was a good opportunity for us to do more with that. But yeah, I think that's kind of where I'm getting at.
So I think I've captured all the parts of what Emily said here. When we get to the next step, we're going to make these concrete and say, like, here's what we actually want to achieve in this category. But right now we're just kind of finding the categories.
We're a little over the time for the brainstorming section, but we could allocate 5 more minutes to anything before we move on to prioritizing. If there's anything that we just want to add within the next 5 minutes to
I was
the potential goals,
maybe even 10 more minutes to push to 7:15.
Okay.
I think that there's enough other stuff that should at least get considered. So let me run through the second half really quick. Last week we brought up education at schools. Another idea that I got was a welcome packet for new residents that could be sent out. I'm doing the same thing where I'm just going to read through them, and then you guys tell me what you think is most relevant or most worthy of our time. Public service announcements is kind of already being considered by the education subcommittee. For encouragement, the League of American Bicyclists has this designation called bicycle friendly business that can be given to businesses, and so we could have an initiative around that where we try and contact businesses. We could put the info on our website. We could set a goal for like getting a certain number of bike friendly businesses in Norwalk. We could try and add more visibility to safe routes to school and maybe make maps for each of the schools. We could work with the schools to do that. Bike valet, we already talked about. I think that's great. For evaluation and planning, these are ideas that came from me filling out the application. Having a dedicated safe routes to school coordinator or an employee who has that specifically as part of their job would be cool, but it would be essentially something we would just ask for. Sending somebody from TMP to the National Bike Summit. The National Bike Summit was called out specifically on the application. Also, somebody from our group we talked about in our normal meeting in December, I think. But it would be super cool to send somebody from the commission and somebody from TMP together. Adding representation to the Bike Walk Commission. I think this came up recently as well. We have some public agencies and then also just demographic groups like the Black community and the disability community. A TMP-led bike ride would be cool. This is actually something that was on the application. You know, whether you have whether you've had a bike ride that's been led by somebody from the city. We should definitely do more tabling. I think we already talked about that, tabling at events. A bicycle master plan we talked about. We could regularly collect our own data. I know that TMP collects some data, but a good place to start might be the number of bikes parked at the new parking at Sono Station. And then this, I bolded this already because I think this would be something that where we could demonstrate some leadership in the city, and that is to set some high level goals around bicycle usage, like mode share. I think we figured out that we were at 1.1% bicycle mode share. We could set a goal for that to be 2% or 3% or 5%, you know, on some timeline. Similarly, zero fatalities goal, like a Vision Zero goal. I know Vision Zero as a term has been thrown around a lot, but one thing we could do is we could set a goal within the commission, or we could put pressure on other people in the city government, whether it's TMP or the Common Council or the mayor, to set a Vision Zero goal. There's more policy stuff we could do, a law against parking bike lanes. And the last thing is the walking college, which I think I brought up before. It's a kind of an advocacy training course. It's like a 5-month thing, and I did it summer of last year, or summer of 2022 now. Super, super helpful. I learned a ton, and I would love to see other people in Norwalk do it as well. So out of all of those that I just described, what do you think we should include? What sounds good to include?
Sticks out to me. What sticks out to me is that what really sticks out is the safe routes to school map. I feel like that is part of the education, and I think helping people realize that there's alternatives to driving to school, right? I think that's where a lot of our traffic congestion happens on a daily basis, and so I feel like that that's something that stood out to me.
Cool.
What I like, oh, sorry, was somebody gonna
No,
talk?
go ahead.
I like the bike friendly business because we were told by the league that that's an easy application. It could bring us, you know, national recognition. It would be really a good kind of feather in our cap to have that. That's my opinion. And we already have done a lot of the work, so.
Cool, I've added it. Great.
When
how-
are we hearing about our award, about the potential?
This month
award?
sometime. It's supposed to be January. It was
Okay, 'cause,
supposed to be December, and then they punted to January.
I mean, we should also, not now, but maybe a next meeting, Monday's meeting, just have a little quick conversation about if we do get it, how are we gonna celebrate that?
Definitely. Yeah, that will absolutely be on our agenda. Greg, how feasible would it be for somebody from TMP to go with somebody from the commission to the National Bike Summit in DC?
Not sure. I gotta talk to everybody to see. I
But
don't know
it's not
everybody's
inconceivable.
schedule. What's that?
It's not inconceivable.
I would say it's inconceivable, but it's up. Where do you know where it is?
DC.
It's in
So
DC?
can I say something about that, please, Tanner?
Yeah,
Excuse me.
go ahead.
So Greg, just to remind you, okay?
Yep.
This, a part of this event is around the lobbyists and the senators from Connecticut and the other people around the state of Connecticut, around the nation, but for each state rep from the bike groups, they meet with the lobbyists, okay? There's designated time. I believe the money that we've received from Jim Himes and all that work with the infrastructure bill, it came directly as a result of that work, of that lobbying. I really believe that. Some of that money.
So Christine, are you making a point that it would be useful for us to be part of that?
Yeah. Like I want just Greg to be aware, like if he does have to pitch this, that it's an opportunity to have a face-to-face with those senators' offices that are, pulling the purse strings.
Yeah, I
Holding,
mean, I can't speak for everybody in the department and who would be able to go. And I don't know enough about it, to see, a lot of, so for instance, we did get, as part of that, we did get the money for the West Rocks sidewalk project, where we got $1.4 million, which was part of the previous bike ped plan, which did help with the application as well, just because we had the public input, we had a lot of that background information and public support that was already included in the previous planning document. Because I helped assist in putting the application together and referred to it, when we applied for it. But yeah, for the bike summit, I'm not sure. I can't say yes or no. Somebody would be able to go. I'd have to find out more about the actual summit itself and what actually it entails.
Yeah, Christine, I think that probably it would be you and me pitching this to the other members of the TMP, not necessarily Greg. Although I know that Greg is our liaison. But I've added it to our ideas that we can then go through and prioritize and discuss further. But before we move on to that section, I've spoken everything that I wanted, or that wrong doc. I brought up everything I wanted to put here, but Judd, welcome. Yeah, we can hear you.
You can hear me?
Yeah.
Okay, good.
Let me give a quick overview for Judd. Judd, we're right on the transition from our brainstorming phase into our prioritization phase. The brainstorming we've done so far, we've talked about state. Can you see the screen, by the way, Judd?
I'm sorry. Oh, sorry.
Can you see the screen that I'm sharing?
Yes.
So these are all the ideas for potential goals that we've brainstormed. I'll let you just read through that, and I'll let everybody else read through that too, in case there's anything you want to add before we start prioritizing these.
Tanner, I also just wanted to add that some of the stuff that was on your other sheet, the wish list, we can copy and paste that into some of the other things that already, or unless you already did that, that kind of coincide with some of the things that are already on the goals, potential goals. So I noticed some repetitive things in the wish list as in the potential goals, and
Yeah,
so
a fair number of them are.
I don't know. Okay, you already copied it. Just checking.
Yeah, I've copy pasted or the stuff that's here on our strategic plan brainstorming is either stuff that came up last week or stuff that somebody specifically called out in this meeting as we were going through the wish list.
Right, but even some of the wish list items, like I feel like they're kind of the same, like bike valet parking. That's already like in
because it came up
potential goals. You know what I mean? So yeah.
But I didn't want to copy paste this entire list because, like I said, some of them are not really things that the Bike Walk Commission is well suited to drive, and some of them are just stuff that we won't have time for.
Gotcha.
But I think that everything on here is something that represents a goal that the commission could set and achieve. Whether that's like around bike share, we could set a goal such as, come up with bring a concrete proposal from a vendor to the city. With wayfinding, that's a little bit less clear, but like it could be write a wayfinding strategy. for the bike summit, it could be, to send somebody from TMP and or the commission. But
Right.
it's all stuff where like we can take action and we can set ourselves a goal independent of what the rest of the city does.
Right. And I think it's time to actually start prioritizing, because
Yeah,
it's
can you use our hand up,
7:17.
Oh, thank you, Sarah. I know, I'm sorry, Manny, and I appreciate your leadership here. No, this just hit me, like e-bikes, like we as an organization, right, should be on top of this trend. And I don't know if we really, like for the public and like education around e-bikes, like that's bike share made me think of this. So I'm just putting it
Yeah.
out there as part of the brain drain. I will stop talking, I promise. That's
You're
it.
good.
But you're talking mostly about public education around e-bikes.
I am about the speed, about the weight, about maybe classes, about driver. Yeah, yeah.
Okay, so what I did is I added it to the emphases section here under outreach and awareness. Emily brought up emphasizing NRVT, and you got e-bikes.
I have a quick question. So,
Yeah.
are we
Oh, welcome,
taking,
Julia.
hi guys, are we taking all of these potential goals and making SMART goals out of them, or are we going to cut this down to the ones that we think are most feasible? I'm sorry, I came in a little bit. I was in the meeting and then I left, so I don't know if I missed that or not.
Yeah, we're gonna cut. From my understanding, we're gonna cut them down, and then the ones we cut down and prioritize to the top, we're gonna make those into SMART goals.
Okay, so great. So I really like the education outreach and awareness section in general, because I feel like we can do so much with that. I don't know, I mean, with honestly all of these topics, whether it's social media, the website. I saw on the wish list, it was saying something about doing education for people that are new to Norwalk, like giving them a packet and stuff. So that's so broad. I really think we can make a great SMART goal with that. There's some other good stuff on here, but this is the one that really sticks out to me that I think we definitely can hone in on for 2024.
Awesome. No, that's
Maybe
great. Thank
one
you
way-
for your feedback, Jayla.
One way we might be able to do that is that we could kind of go one at a time, and we could pick something that we all think is high priority enough that we should definitely include it, and then try and write a goal for it, and like kind of go one at a time that way. And I think that naturally that will help us prioritize. But like obviously we're going to do something in education, right? But it's hard to say. It's hard to like pare that list down without writing goals, I think.
Okay.
Does that make sense?
Yeah. Let me ask this question. Maybe we can I'm gonna be I like keeping things in the positive, but maybe for these
Yeah.
next 10 minutes, is there anything on this potential goals list that doesn't feel like it fits our vision, mission, like what our purpose, what we want to be, what we're about?
I think a lot of the complete street stuff is good, but I think it's sort of, I mean, we can keep an eye on it, but I don't think we have the manpower or person power to sort of monitor all this stuff. And I think, TMP is doing a great job in general. And I think it sort of should be left to them. Having said that, I think the most important thing that we can do is education in all realms of biking. The more educated people are about biking and walking, the more likely they are to get out there. Just letting people know the incredible number of miles of bike infrastructure that we have now, the number of crosswalks that are now marked, I think, could just help to encourage people to get out and use what's out there. So, and wayfinding and signage, it's important, but again, I think TMP is probably pretty on top of that. I mean, from what I've seen, I think everybody here is probably well aware of the crosstown bike route, and the signage on it isn't perfect. There's some right-hand turns, left-hand turns that could use a sign, but I have a feeling we could give them that kind of feedback. But that's sort of about where our involvement with wayfinding signage would end.
So when we were talking, Jed, about wayfinding signage, we were talking mostly about the NRVT.
Yep, okay. But I mean, there is an NRVT organization for that, right?
Yeah, but they only they don't have any. They don't have a formal relationship with the city of Norwalk like the Bike Walk Commission does. Emily brought it up, and I think essentially, Emily, you were suggesting that we could be that formal link between the NRVT organization and the city of Norwalk.
Yeah, I think more collaboration with them is where I was kind of going with that, but definitely I know they do have a relationship with the city. I think just assisting in those efforts would be something I think we should be interested in, especially because a lot of the events we do are along that trail.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, I think that's great. I guess I just look at this list and it just looks tremendous. Even if we were all paid professionals, assigned to implement all this stuff, it would be a lot. And, we're just a bunch of volunteers. So
That's a good
think
point, Judd.
it's all good stuff, but I think it needs, if you want it to be realistic, it's got to be pared way down. And
that same argument, Judd, is how I feel about a lot of the education and outreach stuff. Is that because we're just volunteers and we're not professionals, I don't think that the Bike Walk Commission is going to do a very good job at that kind of work. Like I think that we can do a better job of the policy work, in my opinion. Maybe I'm just speaking for myself.
A better job of what?
Of the more policy oriented stuff.
Okay. Yeah. I mean, I think the education and outreach, it doesn't have to be complicated. We've got printed material in the past. We can get more, having tables at all these community events, which, we've done a lot of. I know we missed some, I think this year, the Touch a Truck event, which has lots of kids at it. I think it's important in terms of education that we try and keep track of all these events to have tables at and things like that. So,
Christine, you had a thought, and I think we should spend the next 5 minutes after Christine talking about what we want to prioritize and then smartify.
Yeah, I just was gonna say thank you. That regarding the signage, it made me think like of our brand. Like I like this document, whether we're gonna pare it down, but this is really important that we have all these things on here. Okay, because it represents what the work we've done we always have touched on something here. So it's important to have it somewhere, housed in a house. But if we had our brand, is it Bike Norwalk? No, that's not our brand because we're also pedestrian, but maybe we should have a marketable, like a logo where we can have a sign on the NRVT that we sponsor this with our money, or is that a breach of conflict of interest with our money, how we use it in the city? I don't know. The other thing is, secondly, and I'm sorry, is like to have maybe, Jad, remember we used to have little committees? And that we would, some of us would represent the education, some of us would represent this part. I don't know if we can go back to that. We're also busy, but I agree with Tanner on that whole education piece and the policy. And also, Joe, what you said, that not to make it complicated. All right, sorry, talk to you.
You're good. No need to apologize, Christine. I think that's part of what we want to eventually do as we smartify the goals is to create committees. Is that right, Tanner?
So what we've done for the last couple of years is we've organized committees around specific initiatives, specific things we want to get done. When Nancy was chair, we had more standing committees that were organized by subject.
I
But, like,
think we
go ahead.
I think we need, and maybe at this point we can do it in conjunction, like you said, Tanner. Let's prioritize and create a SMART goal, because I definitely think creating SMART goals by the end of tonight should be the priority. Given because that's going to help us as we move forward in the rest of the year, and so I think, given what's already on here, I know there's always potential to have more, and there's always potential for the nuance of things. But I think for the goal of the meeting, I think we should start prioritizing, and I'm saying it smartify. I know that's not the right word, but create SMART goals out of what we're going to prioritize.
Yeah, I agree. I'm gonna try something. I'm gonna try putting this into 2 columns. We can put our like more smartified concrete goals on the right and draw from the things on the left.
I like that. This is kind of the part in person where we would, we'd use sticky notes and put them in different areas and organize everything and then see where priorities are. But
Where the heck are columns? No. Okay, I'm coming up empty. Does anybody know how to do columns in Google Docs?
It's not in edit.
No. I would have expected it to be here in format, paragraph styles.
paragraph stuff. Huh.
Okay, bag it. We are going to do it underneath. Okay. Manny, how do you want to go about this?
Well, I think you said if people want, what did you say? We go down through each section and then we can just choose what some of those are. That's an option. I think what I'm hearing actually from, I know Judson and Jalea mentioned were that, education, outreach, and awareness is something that we should prioritize as a bike walk commission. And so I think that's definitely a good place to start. And so going from, so then from there, I think that's a great place to start, actually, is education, outreach, and awareness, as that's been brought up a couple times already within the last 2 meetings. And so I think that's where we started. Is there anything, and I guess I'll ask the same question, is there anything in the education, outreach, awareness part that is outside of this, that is outside of our purpose as an entity?
I don't see.
Oh, sorry. Go ahead, Julia.
I don't see anything under education, outreach, and awareness that we can't accomplish or that doesn't align with the Bike Walk Commission's mission or vision, personally.
Cool.
Yeah, I
Awesome.
agree.
One
I think we
other
should-
thing, sorry, man, just to.
Yeah, go, Greg.
Go ahead.
One other thing I would add to that, I know you have safe routes to school mats, but I think just the safe routes to school program itself, CTDOT has a great program. Manny and Tanner, you guys partook in the walk that we had. But safe routes to school, the program in general from CTDOT has a lot of good guidance, and they have a lot of walkability and bicyclist guidance that they provide, and how you can establish that program in your town so you don't have to reinvent the wheel. It's already there, so it's a good program. So I feel like that should be I know you have, you know, routes to school maps, but also just the Safe Routes to School program itself. For, you know, just, you know, that could be implemented to a lot of the schools and passed on to, you know, the educators and other school faculty as well.
So Greg, if I would have assumed that the Safe Routes to School program is mostly an infrastructure thing, and thus it would be more of a TMP responsibility than a Bike Walk Commission
No,
responsibility.
it's not so much an infrastructure. You know, there's a champion toolkit, you know, that looks at, you know, all different, you know, levels of you know, of ages and shows, you know, biking at different ages and how to get to, you know, how you can coordinate walking groups and, you know, creating, you know, a parent survey, you know, to see how many kids are walking and biking to school and, you know, kind of just the whole website. It's a great program really that they have. They've done a lot over the last couple of years, and the representatives that were from the state were there as well. They kind of, you know, kind of revitalized the program, if you will. So there's a lot of good stuff that's provided other than just pure infrastructure.
So my question is, thanks for that clarification, Greg. My question is, what do we want to do, or what do we want to see with Safe Routes maps or the program? Like, what do we want to do with this?
I think it's hard to say because we don't understand the program.
So maybe we need to get acquainted. Maybe the goal is to get acquainted with the
Well,
program.
so one thing, Greg, there is an annual conference. Is that something that we should be participating in, or Greg? have you
Well,
been to one?
so
I
I
thought
don't
you
think it's a
did.
conference you need to attend, Christine. I mean, this is just the state DOT Safe Routes to School program initiatives that they have. You know, and everything they offer. You know, the walk audit we did was just a very small portion of what the program offers and helps you, you know, cities establish, you know, the program itself. So it's something that I think, you know, that we should, you know, the commission should, you know, try to, you know, gather as much information on it and try to implement some of those, just so you don't have to start out with nothing. You know, it's already there, and how you can work with it. And, you know, we could also have DOT, you know, those representatives as well, maybe join a meeting as well in the future. And talk to you guys about what they can offer and what guidance they can help with.
So from what Greg said, from what Greg said, I hear two potential goals. One is to get acquainted and learn about school maps program. So by May of 2024, the education committee will have we'll have an understanding, like, you know, kind of make it smart, right? Of what schools to map program, whatever it's called. You see, I don't even know what it's called. Program is. And then second one, by, who knows? I'm just throwing out dates out there. They don't have to be the real dates, but like by June 2024, having tracked down two people to come talk at one of our commissions.
Yeah, and
Is that a good place? Would you say that's a good place to start? Especially since it sounds like as a commission, we don't know too, you know, the awareness of the program is a little, you know, it's lacking a bit, or, you know, it sounds like Christine actually has an understanding of it, but
Well, yeah,
in general.
it's a national program, and Norwalk got money probably 20 years ago, Greg, by Nathan Hale from a national organization.
Well, so we had,
Nice.
that was the city had Safe Routes to School money that was done for that project. So it was local city capital dollars that was done about 5 years ago.
And so if projects like this that led me to conclude that, or to assume that Safe Routes to School is largely an infrastructure program, but it sounds like there's two halves to it. Or to the term Safe Routes to School, there's an infrastructure program that awards money to cities to spend on infrastructure that allows us to create Safe Routes to School. And then there's this whole toolkit of like, how do you get people in the community on board? And I think the latter is where we can have more impact. as the bike
And-
walk. Does that sound
And
right?
beyond the education platform as well, there's also an encouragement aspect of it as well. You know, encouraging students and parents to walk and bike to school as well. You know, they have webinars, you know, enhancing safe routes to school through, you know, Fleet Streets and Vision Zero, and, you know, capacity building strategies, and you know, there's a lot of media messaging strategies as well. So it's a good program to look into.
Yeah, I think a goal for this year is just to get a speaker to come educate us about it.
To educate the commission or to educate the community?
Well, perhaps it could be a community event at the library or something, but mainly for the commission. But yeah, I hadn't thought of that, Tanner. But yeah, I don't know. I mean, Greg, is there someone we could get that you know that would do an education, you know, 45-minute, hour talk on safe routes?
So we do have someone from CTDOT that did the walk audit with us. You know, that we, you know, they are more than willing to come in and talk to the Bike Walk Commission. Just not sure when they're available, but I think we should start with you know, coming to a monthly meeting, you know, have them talk 20 minutes or so just to get everybody acclimated to the program. They know about it more than anybody. You know, and just, you know, I think it will really help, you know, kind of get the wheels in motion a little bit, you know, with the education and the encouragement platform. So I think it'll be a good benefit to everybody.
So that's, you know, doable. I think it's realistic. And Greg, can you get in touch with that person and see what
Yes.
their schedule's like? Yeah, and I
Absolutely.
think then maybe after you know, a meeting with them specifically with the commission, we could talk to them about maybe doing a in-person community lecture. I don't know, Manny, what do you think of that?
Yeah, that sounds good. Yeah, I think just keeping in mind, you know, what we want to accomplish, and obviously if the goal is achievable, right? And if it aligns. So I think that's good. Any other thoughts from anybody else?
I think we dove really deep into the safe routes to school thing, which is like just one specific
Right.
part of one of our categories.
Yeah.
I mean, at this speed, I think we're not going to have a strategic plan 20 minutes from now.
I mean, we can keep working at it in the next 20 minutes, because I think, you know, and yeah, I think we're not going to, you're right. But I think we still have 20 minutes. So I feel like, you know, let's kind of keep going down go as much as we can with the education, and then,
So I think we should,
figure.
for the next SMART goal that we try and articulate, we should pick something that we understand a little bit better. Something that we're already in the middle
Social media.
Social
I
media.
think social media. Yeah, I think like what do we want? What do we want to accomplish? Like what actions do we want to take with social media as the Norwalk Bike Walk Commission?
Well,
I think more often. Oh, sorry,
no,
Christine.
go ahead. Go ahead, Julie.
Yeah, I would say something like the frequency of posting. I feel like we can post more educational stuff. So that could be like something like make one post per week, educational post per week, or I don't know exactly what the specific goal would be, but to increase posting and educational materials that we put out there for the public. And maybe something about establishing some type of connection on social media. So I don't know, there's different organizations that do great work that I feel like we can also increase with sharing too. So yeah, but the main thing I would say would be to increase the frequency of posting. So I don't know exactly what you guys would want to pick, but at least a few times a month, make sure we're posting educational materials, whether we create it or share it from someone else that's already out there.
What
And I do
sounds
sorry, go ahead.
from well, from the people that have already been working on our social media, and you know what sounds realistic and achievable for where we want to see our social media.
That's Emily.
I was just
Dun,
going
dun,
to add,
dun.
sorry, I can hear the train, but yeah, Julia, I really like anything that the Norwalk Health Department posts. I know we mostly get it from Facebook, but having that on Instagram as well. And then anything relevant to TMP that's posted by the city of Norwalk, we'll try our best to reshare that on social media. And I know we're trying to get across different platforms. The thing I would love to have more of is video content. And I know that's hard for us to produce, but if we did have some sort of library that we were able to start creating, I think that would, especially highlighting the educational piece. There's that woman that we want to meet with from the Norwalk Hospital, and hopefully, get more just content around bike safety and pedestrian safety to be posting on our own on the Bike Walk Commission social media.
Emily, expand more on the library component. What do you mean by that? Like, what would that ideally look like?
So I know, and I've been trying to collect all of the print material we have. So we have this really nice reference guide of, Connecticut laws and safety around biking and walking, and, car laws as well. But having some sort of resource library for the Bike Walk Commission for the public to be able to quickly go and have at their hands, like that sort of information. But ideally having that in a like video format would be even more accessible, I think, to certain viewers. Like if it were a collection of information in some sort of drive, or even just links on our website, which is, I think, what we currently have now. I imagine, if we could turn that into a video to post on social, on TikTok, on Instagram, just having that to engage with the public a little more would be nice to have. I don't know how realistic that is for us. I don't know if any of us are like video content editors, but I think that's kind of where I see us, connecting more with the public, and especially the younger crowd.
Yeah, Emily, that's great. Myself and Kelly, the health educator, we actually have been working more to create videos using Canva, actually. I don't know if you guys know, but Canva has a great video component to it. So I'm pretty familiar with the process of that. And if for shooting a video, if that's something that you think, well, I think it personally, we get more likes and reaches from the health department when we put out videos versus, hey, read all of this stuff. If a video, people can click it, it's much easier for them. But the health department's a great place if you need to like shoot something quickly or to meet with the woman from the hospital. That just keep that in mind too. I know that's kind of sidetracked, but
No, that would be great.
If we do like maybe at least make it a goal to do at least one video every 3 months, so it's not too many. And if we exceed the goal, then that's great. But maybe one video every 3 months around education, and leave it broad so we can kind of make it whatever each time. I think that would be a great goal to set.
I think that's perfect. And I'm definitely on board to help however I can. Yeah.
I like
Christine?
that. Thank you. I like that idea too. What's coming to my mind is the public, I think, likes to know what we're doing. Like, how do we interact with the city? What is our role as a commission? So if maybe we can have a video about that, like, I don't know, but I just think that's a big part of this, is getting our name out there and what we do and what impacts we make for the betterment of the city.
I love that, Christine, because that was something we discussed earlier, is getting our name out there and letting people know what we do as a commission so we can reach all groups. So I think that would be a great first video, just educating people about where they can find us, the work we do and all that's good stuff.
Would a recap of 2023 video be something that would, because then that would show like, here's what we did, here's who we are, and here's what we did this last year, actually. I don't know.
Yeah,
Yeah.
we talked earlier in our brainstorming about a year-end review op-ed.
Oh, yeah.
But I
It's
like
not so
a
different.
montage, like a moving montage of our photos, like the events we did.
So, can somebody suggest a specific, measurable, attainable, realistic, time-bound version of what we've been discussing here?
I like the one video every 3 months. That will be either, so expand on that, either for social media or for library or for both.
So I interpreted the library to be like a content library that we can pull from when we're creating videos. Was that right, Emily?
Okay.
Or were you just,
Exactly, yeah. And I
Okay.
think one video a quarter is definitely achievable, and we can put that in social media and on like YouTube and attach it to newsletters. Like we can reuse that and start building the library from there as well.
okay, so I've got post one video every quarter.
I think it would make sense that someone takes each one of these goals here. You know, going back to the safe routes to school, I'm hoping Greg is going to be able to reach out to that person. Is that correct, Greg?
Yeah, no, that's easy, Joe. We've had some chats with them, especially since the walk audit, so we can definitely reach out to them.
Okay, and then I'm not a social media person, much less, you know, I'm a video person, but maybe someone here is. I just hate to
I would-
make this
I would be
smart list and then, you know, we're all thinking somebody else is gonna do it.
Well, I mean, it sounds like Julia and Emily kind of have some kind of thoughts or some kind of inclination for
Yep.
this, but then I also would include myself in there. As I've done video work in the past as well.
Okay,
So how about this? I'll assign this one educational material at a certain frequency to Emily and Julia, and I'll do the video to Manny. How's that?
Perfect.
All right. Should we take a stab at another goal?
We have 10 minutes. Sure, let's go for it.
I want to pivot a little bit to bike valet because that's another ball that's in progress. Nick, if you want to help me craft this, you can. I think we could even stick it under education or awareness. But
yeah, I think so.
I would say a very easy, specific, measurable, attainable goal would be, provide bike valet services at a certain number, maybe 3. I don't know. We can argue about the number, but provide bike valet services at 3 public events in 2024.
Yeah, I think that's a good goal.
Yeah, sounds good to me.
Is 3 a good number? We've been talking about 3 main.
Yeah, I think you could
festivals.
list them here, right? It's the Nice.
Yeah, let's list
Festival,
them.
It's the LGBT event, and it's the Oyster Festival, no? Is there something else?
There were some smaller ones that we brainstormed as well, but like we don't know right now that we're going to be able to do all of those, which is the value of setting a number. Like I think we can shoot for these, but if we don't get those, we can do others as well. Like if for some reason we're not able to get any of these big ones, I think we should still shoot to do little ones.
Quick
Yeah.
thing.
Yeah, I
Sorry.
agree. I'm not sure it's really worth putting the specifics and just leaving it at 3.
What
We
what
have
if
the specifics in that email that you sent before.
could we make a little incentive for people to walk to these events too, perhaps? So we have the pedestrian piece of this, a bike walk commission, and maybe give them like a ticket for an ice cream or something. Can we use our money like that?
We're only discussing the bike valet goal right now.
No,
Yeah,
but
I
I'm
think
just,
right now is not the time for brainstorming anymore. We're trying to converge on.
all right,
specific goals.
I'll stop.
But like, if you have a good idea for how to do that, I would love to hear it. But bike valet is something concrete that we've been working toward, and I think that we have a good idea of exactly what we would do.
has anyone here experienced a bike valet parking
Yeah.
public event? I never have.
I have.
Okay.
Not in Connecticut, but I have.
Okay, how about another concrete SMART goal?
Do you want to either jump on something policy related or event related, or even then back to educational, the bike friendly businesses?
Yeah,
What
this
what
one I
about
think is, go ahead.
sorry, I like the diversity, like what if one of us went to the NAACP meeting or something, or the Hispanic group, or the Chamber of Commerce, I think they have Hispanic. I mean, what about that?
I think that
I like the
they're like a
bike-friendly
yearly goal. I
too,
think
but-
what we want something that's higher level, like going to a specific organization seems like more of an
Okay,
implementation detail, right? Like a higher level goal might be to have, well, first of all, to have 7 commissioners, but maybe to have commissioners, to have our new commissioners represent a new underrepresented group.
So
And
maybe
like,
for a SMART goal, we can make that something like establish a certain amount of connections with groups.
And I think that aligns with what Christine was saying, right?
Yeah, pretty much. But I don't know. First, I'm thinking of it as a SMART goal.
Well, how do you in Julia, like in if you had a magic wand, how would you go about like establishing those connections?
That's what I said. Every year we see an ebbs and flows. That's what we're seeing at this time.
That's a good question.
From and disinformation from some others.
Yeah, I'm not exactly sure how to write this one.
Sorry,
No, let's start at the magic wand. Let's start at the magic wand, not the SMART. Let's start at the, because I feel like you're onto something, and so I'm trying to help you with like, if you didn't have to really think of, if you can dream of this, what would it look like per se?
I would say just reaching. I'm trying to think of like a certain way to reach each group. So like Christine brought up a good point of the Chamber of Commerce, the Norwalk Hispanic Chamber of Commerce. I'm just thinking of establishing connections with maybe groups that represent the diversity that we're trying to establish in the commission. So, but I don't exactly know how we would articulate that
I
properly.
think the important question to ask
How do
is,
most people? Oh, go ahead, Tanner.
thanks. I think the important question to ask is, in what way do we want these groups involved, represented? Do we want additional commissioners that come from these groups? Do we want just members of the public from these groups attending our meetings? Do we want to be meeting with them outside of our meetings? What kind of involvement are we actually looking for? And that's where we can write.
That's a great question. I think that's a great starting point.
So one thing, sorry, my battery went out. I lost everybody, and I didn't know if we were still on the call. What about making sure everything we write is translated into Spanish? Making a commitment to that. Like inviting people to the Earth Day, which is another valet event, but Earth Day, like in Spanish, or I don't know. Everything should be translated. I don't know.
That's definitely more like concrete, more specific. I think we can make it even more specific by saying everything we write, like on social media, right, is also available in Spanish. So
I think that's good, Chris.
Yeah, or
Sorry, go ahead, Nick.
maybe Creole. Sorry, Creole.
Perhaps another goal to be specific about is to co-host one joint event with a diversity group, such as Hispanic Chamber of Commerce,
NAACP,
like that.
I think that's a great idea, Nick.
Say that again, Nick. Sorry.
Co-host one event by the end of 2024 with a diversity-oriented group.
And I feel like that, honestly, that's an expansion. That's a more I like the way this is working because I feel like that's an expansion. I feel like what kind of Christine was getting at, and you know what I mean. Like I feel like that's like the idea is kind of expanding, So I think that's kind of what Christine was getting at, but I feel like Nick, you were able to kind of make it a little more concrete in that goal way. So I guess I'm appreciating the way this is. We're kind of really, working our brains here a little bit, so that's great.
So it's 3 minutes to 8. I'm happy to stay on, but we did say that we want to be respectful of time. So I think that probably what we should do is schedule some more time. We can. I'm inclined to do it outside of the meeting. If we don't want to use everybody's time, we could pick just a subset of us to do so. Judd's hands up. Go ahead, Judd.
Just wanted to ask if these SMART goals could be a permanent attachment to the agenda, so we don't sort of lose track of them and other people can see where we're going. Not the whole list here, but just those specific things that we identified tonight. Does that work for everybody else?
So before you joined, Judd, we did talk about, and we could probably even just copy paste this into the SMART goals, that once a quarter during our bike walk meeting, we would go through our SMART goals.
Okay.
Do you think it would be better done every month? I guess we really need to decide that now.
I'm not saying we need to go through it every month. I'm just saying leave it on there so we don't forget about it, because I know in the past we would do things like this and it was great, but then often it would sort of get forgotten. So I mean, I guess we could review it every month, but that might take up a lot of time in the meeting.
Yeah, I've copy pasted it into our SMART goals because I think that it's concrete enough that we can call it a SMART goal. For now, I would say check in once per quarter. We can also, like you suggested, attach it to the agenda.
Yeah.
I don't even think that needs to be a goal. We should just do it. But for now, do people have an opinion about whether we should either? I guess there's 3 options. We can attempt to finish this work in normal meetings, but I hesitate to do that because it hasn't worked before. We could pick a subset of people that could meet again, or we could have another special meeting that's noticed where all of us can attend to keep working on this. Judd.
What if you assign 30 minutes at every meeting to work on this?
I don't think
we're not going to get through the whole thing, but we'll chip away at this month by month.
Well, I think that we want to get it done sooner rather than later because it represents 2024. Like we don't want to finish it halfway through 2024.
Yep. Okay.
I say we need another meeting. Oh, go ahead, Nick.
Yeah, I'd like to pose the question, do 4 SMART goals not seem sufficient to be a strategic plan in and of itself?
I mean, it qualifies as a strategic plan. I don't feel like we've coalesced around like these are our priorities. We just like kind of picked some things where we could write SMART goals, but we don't really have any priorities. And I think a big important part of the planning process is aligning on what is important and what is not. Like I think there's a lot of things that I would argue are important that we haven't talked about.
Well, I think kind of getting into semantics a little bit, but like, you could say that from these 4 priorities, we've created 4 SMART goals. Like our 4 priorities for the year would be safe routes to school, more social media presence, establish bike valet service, and a better connection with diversity in the city. And like from those 4 priorities for 2024, we've created these 4 SMART goals.
I think, yeah, I mean, and part of the SMART goal is realistic. And, going back to what I said earlier, we're just volunteers. So I think this could be plenty. I would agree with Nick on this.
Tanner, is there anything that you're like, if we were, and that I can open this to everybody else too. If we were to stop right here at these 4, safe routes to school, social media, bike valet, diversity, is there something that's saying, ugh, we're just missing that one thing. What would that be?
I see two things. So I'm going to break the rule and say two things. I disagree with Judd that we should disengage from the Complete Streets process. I think that we should be as engaged as possible in it. And also bike share, which so far has been a project that just I've been working on. But it's something that the mayor specifically requested that we do, and I would like to not only continue working on it, but ideally have some help and indicate that it is a priority of ours because the mayor asked us to do it.
So Tan, I agree with the safe streets, the bike share, bike valet, the bike share, I just FYI, Alex at Smart Cycle made a comment when I brought it up to him, so I don't know, he had a very strong opinion about it, so we may want to get some feedback, but I think we definitely have to, on here, have this event as the SMART goal. We definitely need to
I
have those
agree.
events. Yeah, but I like this list, and I'm willing to meet again, so whenever.
Anybody else have anything that's like that kind of was a man, I don't know, not a punch to the gut, but maybe a punch to the gut feeling, as in like I really feel like this should be on our SMART goals list that isn't. Okay, well I think then we have our 6 then, or we have our 7 that we want to continue on the second part of this meeting, so which is great.
So I think the last question that remains to be answered is, should we schedule another special meeting so that all of us can show up, or should we assign a minority of us so that we can meet on a more flexible schedule?
I can go either way. I would like, I enjoy this process, and I'll enjoy watching this process flesh out, so I wouldn't mind being a part of it again.
Yeah, and I'd like to be a part of it. Nick, I mean, it sounds like basically everybody has expressed interest in continuing to be a part of it. So
But we have Jalea and Greg here who are working, extra, so. If it's
Yeah,
too many people-
I'm fine continuing. Especially if it's held at this time, it works for me.
I can't do Wednesdays going forward. I got a new volunteer assignment at church that I got to do on Wednesday evenings. But Mondays are still free. What if we scheduled the next one to be the week after our regular meeting? The regular meeting's on the 8th, so the 15th? Or is that a holiday?
Yeah, well, that's a holiday, yeah.
Okay,
I mean,
then
I don't
maybe the
mind
22nd.
meeting on all but yeah, that's the city staff can't meet. Yeah.
Monday the 22nd?
You guys want to do I'm down for that.
Anybody opposed?
Well, doesn't Greg and Daleen, they have to be available, right?
Yeah, most specifically Deline.
Yeah, and they may not want to work it like that night.
What time, 6:30 again?
Yeah, or 6 if that doesn't work.
It's just I have traffic authority and police commission that night, but I should be okay by then.
Yeah, those start at 4, right?
Yeah,
I mean, but that's a long day for you. I mean, seriously, that's a lot, no?
it's okay. It's okay.
Wow.
I appreciate you, Christine.
I mean, Christine, if you have an alternative, I'm all yours.
Well, just a smaller group, so it doesn't have to be an official meeting, but I don't know how small it has to be in order for that to happen, that we don't have to make it official.
3 or fewer
What
commissioners.
about the 29th?
Deline, do you have a
29th?
preference toward the 29th over the 22nd?
Yeah, that would work for me.
Because
You
all
prefer
else
the
equal,
29th?
I'd rather do it sooner than later. But if the 29th is more doable, then we'll do the 29th.
It's up to you guys. I could do either. It's up to you guys.
Emily?
The 29th works better for me.
Okay, so anybody opposed to the 29th? Great. Greg, do you know if you can make the 29th?
Yeah, I should be able to.
Okay, let's nail that down then. 29th, 6:30 to 8, just like today. Okay. I guess it's unanimous. Any last thoughts before we head out? Thanks for everybody's time tonight. Work on this.
I feel we made some progress. So that's kind of awesome.
Yeah, Manny, thanks for your facilitation.
No problem.
Alrighty,
Thanks, everyone.
then I say we adjourn until, well, I guess we'll see you all on Monday for our regular meeting.
Woohoo.
And send Greg agenda items if you have them, although I already sent him a long list.
Yeah, if you could send them, if you could send them by like tonight, you know, that would be great.
Is the, like, the celebration if we get the award on there?
I'll put it on there.
Okay,
I could put it on there.
I'll be surprised if it happens in the next 3 days, but if it does, we should talk about it.
but if it doesn't, it's too premature, I guess, Tanner?
I mean, there's just not much to talk about.
Okay, well, if we do get, it, we could propose it, because I think.
Oh,
we
you
have-
mean if we don't get it?
Well, no, if we, all right, we don't have to talk about it. All right,
Okay.
good night, everyone.
Good night.
Have a good night.
All right, everyone.